All right, I'm not sure. You need this for recording also? You need this for recording. Okay, then otherwise I'm more comfortable with my own voice. Yeah. All right, today I would like to share with you some things. Maybe the video you may have to move because I may want to stand along the way. Brother Bobby, I may want to stand along the way. You may I would like to share with you some of the Buddhist principles that I use when I was in a corporate. I spent some years in my corporate life. As a Buddhist, we always struggle between our values, our principles, and also in a working life. And sometimes we can or we can't reconcile certain things. So I thought it would be good to share some of this with some of you who are still working. I know some of you are already semi-retirement and already retired, so it may not apply to you. But having said that, you may be good sharing for you to share with the rest of them who are still working. Maybe your friends, your family members. So let's move on. I can't see the slide from here. All right. Living the 10 Buddhist principles at work. I would like to give you a very broad, big picture very quickly. I think the world has changed tremendously from agriculture to industrialization, and today we are in a digital age. The way the business is moving in a lot of companies, the way the world that we are living in, the way that we are working has changed tremendously. That's reality. So if you're still working today, some of us are still stuck in this mindset here, industrialization mindset, whereas the whole business world has moved into digital era a lot more. And because of that, the workforce are also very different. So these are some of the challenges that we face today. Let's take a look at it. There's this very famous word today, people talk about VUCA. I'm not sure you heard about this word VUCA. In the business world, this word VUCA is very common today. You hear people give speeches. They say the business world, the challenges we have is a VUCA world. So VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. We are living in an era where things are very volatile, things are very uncertain, things are very complicated, and yet sometimes we don't have clarity. We are very ambiguous about things. So whenever you go, in whichever organization you work with, you are always, basically challenged by these few elements. And this is real. Today, we can't even certain what will happen perhaps next week, next month, next year. And a lot of time we make a lot of plans, but the plans may have to be changed because of the volatility of the environment that we are in. So that's another reality. I just want to give you a picture. Those of you who are working, this is real, because everything is bound to change. So don't go and argue with your boss. Why last month we talked about it, this month we have to do like this, because things changes very quickly. And if you work with local entrepreneurs, it's even worse. This morning we can agree on this, afternoon it has to change. So those of you who are not used to working with entrepreneurs, there's a lot of challenge there, because they also trade and they basically work within this environment called the VUCA environment. Then we have issues for those of you who are working. In today's working life, some of you are in an organization, working in a place where there are 3 generations or 4 generations. I belong to the baby boomers generation, because those of us born in the 50s, we are baby boomers. So I'm a baby boomer. But in organization, there are many Gen Xers today. They are 40 over years old people, early 50 maybe, and all the way down to maybe late 30s, you are Gen Xers. And then we have those below 35 years old and below. Anybody 35 years old and below here? 1. That's all. Okay, this is Gen Y. We are Gen Ys basically. In fact, Gen Ys today, based on statistics, they are about close to 40% of our workforce today. These are the generation that sometimes my generation or the Gen Xers couldn't understand them, how they work and things like that. All right? So there are these challenges when you work in a working environment. We have 3 generations or 4 generations. Even the generation above me, they are called the silent generation. All right? These silent generations, not many company has, but those company that is basically entrepreneur-owned, family-owned. You may have the first generation who started the business. They are maybe 70, 80, 90 years old. They are still within the company. They could be the chairman of the company. They could be somebody, directors in the company, and you may have to deal with them. These are the silent generation. So working in an environment where you have 4 generations is not going to be easy. And sometimes we don't seem to understand them. What's happening with our workforce today? They want to work or don't want to work? Why not showing up? And then you see younger generation today, the longest they stay in any organization, how long? You'll be very lucky. That depends. That depends. 1 year, less than 6 months, some of them. That depends on the industry as well as many other factors. A lot depends also on the bosses they are dealing with. If you still work the way you used to work 20 years ago, 30 years ago, this generation-wise not going to be happy working with you because they have a different way of working altogether. All right? So we are also working in an environment where we have different generations. So in actual fact, in a working life, we have this issue about we alone as one of the person in the organization. But in today's working life, you can't work alone. The reality, you can't work alone. Below us, there are people that we have to manage. Sometimes you scream like man, say, I got only 3 staff. That A is okay, B is okay, C liao. This person, I just don't know how to manage him. Terrible, All it takes is 1 person, and you have a tough time. I'm supposed to be very patient as a Buddhist, but with that person, how to be patient? So you have issues like that. Okay, people you have to manage below you. Then you have people that you have to manage sideways. Today, we can't work alone. We have to work with people from maybe our peers who are in a team and things like that. And I always jokingly say peers are very powerful people. You want to know how? I'll give you an example. Today, bosses, for example, I'm a boss. 3 of you are my staff. But I spend a lot of time with these 2. Due to the nature of our work, I seldom spend time with you, but you are reporting to me. So a lot of time I will go out lunches with these 2, and then one of the lunches that I have with them in the afternoon says, hey, sorry, what's your name? You don't mind? Tan. Okay. What do you think of Tan? They're all colleagues, because bosses sometimes got only time to deal with these 2, not with her. So during the lunch, I say, hey, actually, by the way, what do you think of Tan? Now, all she needs to say to me as a boss is, boss, Tan, like that low. That like that low means your career is finished low. That's how powerful our peers today. But the reality is we have to deal with them. You have to manage them. So how do we use our Buddhist principles when we come to all these situations? Then we have issues of people we have to deal. Our king, our bosses, our queen. These are people that we have to deal with a lot of time. And along the way, there are a lot of unseen bosses here, people who you don't report to, they also kepo a lot one, that you have to deal with in a working life. So when you look at the entire working environment, it's not easy. It's not as, can you leave me alone, let me do my work? You can't anymore today in working environment. You have to deal with many parties. And not to mention, outside this, your customer, your vendor, your whatever suppliers, all that you have to deal with. So all in all, in a working life, it's all about people. It's all about people. It's not about the product. It's not about the business you're in alone. It's about the people. And a lot of time, the problem comes is with dealing with the people. So how do we use our Buddhist principles? Sometimes to deal with the situation they're in, sometimes to deal with the people that we have to handle. So through the years, in my experience with working as well as in the corporate world, I've come to some simple tips for you. 10 tips that I think will be very useful. You have learned a lot of Dhamma, but you also have to put it into practice in your workplace. So a couple of these principles I would like to share with you. Some you already know. Some I'm just reinforcing what you already done. But nevertheless, let's go through the 10. First principle for me, it's very important when I go to any place to work. I live by this principle. Of course, this principle is not my principle, but it's principle borrowed from the 7 habits. Everything you do in your working life, when you deal with people, begin with the end in mind. We must always know at the end of the day, what do you want? If this is a very difficult boss that I'm dealing with, and you have to work with her, what do I want from her at the end of the day? You must be very clear, because that is your game plan. If you do not know what you really want out of that relationship, you'll be in trouble. So it's very important to know. 7 Covey principle talk about 7 good habits, and one of the habits that some of you have read the book is called Begin with the End in Mind. And before you start the journey, you must know where you're going. That's very important. So every time you join an organization, apart from the money that you want from the company and the job that you do, you must be very clear why you are there, and the very reason why you are there, and what you want at the end of the day. If you are not clear, you get into a lot of trouble. I'll give you some example of this. Now, this Covey message about begin with the end in mind, actually, when you look deeply into this, it has to do with our Buddhist understanding of the law of karma. 你种什么样的因，就得什么样的果。Whatever you seed that you put in, you harvest what you want. So you have to be very clear what you want. What do you want in your working life? What matters most at the end of the day? What do you want? Why do you want to be wealthy for? You must be clear why you are there to take up that job. Now, I give you my example. In my last job as a group OD for the company called the Sunway Group, I had a very difficult, demanding, challenging boss. He's pretty high achievement person. He wants things yesterday one, like most CEO will talk, He wants things yesterday one, everything. And we are all very afraid of him, especially when he takes a few days off to go and attend seminars and conferences. Because when he comes back, he's going to have a lot of great ideas, So he's the guy that my colleagues, when he saw him coming from the other side, they all Chinese say, Siam. They try to avoid him. And when I work with him at that point in time, because he's a very inquisitive person, he's an Imperial College graduate. He's an engineer by training. So his logical mind and all those things. So when you go and talk to him, he will ask a lot of questions. And then when you say yes or no, can or cannot, he'll say, why not? Why cannot? Why not? Why not this way? Why not that way? So much so that we gave him a nickname, Mr. YY. Because he like to ask a lot of why. Why cannot? Why not? So when I went to work in the first few months, I struggled. When I left my previous job, when I was a senior VP of human capital in Great Eastern Life, I joined Sunway Group. When I was in Great Eastern Life, I was part of the senior management team. And we do a lot. We have a lot of empowerment. We discuss at a very senior level. But I went over to Sunway. I was reporting to him because he was the ED. He was the ED. He reports to the president of the group. So I was reporting to him, and he was reporting to the president. So the line is very different. Line of the reporting is very different. So a lot of time, and he's not a human capital person. Any ordinary human capital person, my boss knows nothing about human capital, but he's a smart guy because he's an Imperial College graduate. So to cut the story short, he was very difficult to me. I also felt very difficult working with him. Hokkien, we say one word, chuan. So a lot of time when we were doing presentation to the exco of the group itself, he and I seems to have a little bit of different ideas. But of course, he's a boss. I'm not a boss. So, of course, sometimes when I said something, I knew, I said the wrong thing. Then I realized, when I went back and then I was sitting down one day, I was thinking, Wachai, this is not working for you. You had a nice job down there. You and your itchy backside go and join this company and you got a new job. And I was thinking, what should I do? And I sat down and said, look, my mission is not to fail. Not at this stage in my life. Whatever job that I take, I must make it happen. That's one. I was very clear. Because I was thinking at the end of the day, this is what I want. Two, my mission is not to fight with him. I got better things to do in life than to fight with my boss. Three, I start to think, is it okay to be number two rather than to be number one? Because in my previous place before joining this company, as far as that issues, most of the time, I have a lot of say. But now I have lesser say. So I asked myself, is it okay to be number two and let him have his way? Then I remember I read some parts of Xing Fa Shi's book called 老二哲学. Xing Fa Shi wrote a book called 老二, means second man, 哲学, the philosophy of being the second man. And he says basically, if you want to be a leader, you must first learn to be a second man, a good second man. Then you can be a good leader one day. So I read the book. I understood a little bit about the importance to be number two. You don't have to always be number one. If you can be a good number two, you're still very helpful. Sariputta and Moggallana, they are good number twos, but they're not number one. The Buddha is still number one. So when I reflected on this, it's okay. I think my mission here is not to fail. My mission here is to make things happen for my boss. It's okay to be number two. The moment I started to be very clear what I wanted, begin with the end in mind, then things start to shift, to change more positively. I began to see his needs more. I began to see what I can do to fulfill his needs, as long as they are not those illegal and unethical ones. I should be okay. So for me, it's very simple. Working for people, working for bosses, do what your bosses want you to do under any situation except three conditions. If he asks you to do something illegal, maybe you might want to question yourself, you want to do or not. Immoral, ask you to straight go and sign the dotted line there. Don't do. Illegal, immoral, unethical. If my bosses don't ask me to do any of these three and I think it's within my ability to do it, I'll do it for him because he's my boss. I'll do it for him. If I think it's 3 steps to jump to do it, he thinks 5 steps, I'll do the 5 steps as long as he's comfortable. So with that in mind, I was very clear. I was not there to get suffering. I was there to get happiness. Of course, the salary at the same time, but I was there to be happy working. I was very clear. And that switch of mindset was very critical. So a lot of time people are not very happy working in any organization. It's not because they don't know the job. They are expert in the field, years in the field. But they are not happy working there because their mindset is not correct. Some of them, they go to work, they think they are somebody, they are professional enough, they are there to challenge people, they are there to be number one, they are there to bulldoze everybody else. It doesn't work. The fundamental things about working life is, apart from the salary, is you need to be happy. If you're not happy, working life is neraka. It's hell. So that's very important. So I feel this principle, I hold very strongly, the law of karma. How you treat people, you'll be treated in the same manner. So always begin with the end in mind. And of course, never forget Dhammapada verse 1 and 2. Mind is the forerunners of all things. How you think, how you act, that's what you'll get. So the Buddha says, if you treat people well with a good heart, with a good mind, goodness will follow you like a shadow that never leaves you. That's what it is. So if we can understand this, always go out, whether you do business or whether you work for people, always remember the law of karma. 你种什么样的因，你得什么样的果. So if you want people to treat you well in the workplace, of course there are difficult people, we can talk about that later, but generally speaking, if that is the approach you take, you're going to have a lot more smoother time. That's principle number 1. Principle number 2, in the working life, don't be naive, things won't change. The wind of change is always blowing. Your job, in order to be happy, sometimes must learn how to flow with it. Do you need to learn how to flow with it? So there is a management, MBO happens. So there is acquisition happens. So there's a new shareholder come in. That happens. Remember the VUCA world? It's volatile, it's uncertain. Business world, working life is always like that. Just as you're very comfortable with your boss, something happened, something changed. That's reality. So now here, when I was working, I always take the Buddha's advice on the 8 winds of change as a point of reference. And I always remind myself, when I'm at the peak, I don't be too happy that I'm at the peak. When I'm at the lowest point, I also tell myself, don't be too sad, because things changes along the way. And in a working life, these 8 winds, I'm not going to go into detail, but it could be a talk for 2 hours on this. But gain and loss, as we sang song just now, right? The second song, Nirvana Day or something like that. We talk about gain and loss, praise and blame, fame and ill fame, happiness and sorrow. I want to give an example, happiness and sorrow. In the mid-90s, I was working in a bank, one local bank. I will not mention the name of the bank. And that particular bank, actually, I used to go to work very early. These days, youngsters don't go to work very early, but we used to go. That's why today, most of the shop in the shopping mall open at 11 and 12 o'clock, because they can't find people. The young one doesn't want to work so early, wake up so early, because they slept late, most of them, even the old ones, sleep late also. So they don't wake up so early, and the workforce has changed a lot. But anyway, those days, I used to go to work very early. We reach office about 7 something. And among our colleagues, we will go to the back lane of the buildings. They've got mama stores and nice food and things like that. We had our breakfast there. So one morning, I was doing the same thing, and then we look at almost 9 o'clock, let's go back. We're going to start work already. So rushing back to the, to the building itself. The building have few lifts, but no dedicated lift for the CEOs. Unlike certain banks, they have one special one for all the CEOs and the directors. I won't mention the company, but anyway, this company or this bank that I work with, they got lifts, but no special one for the CEO. So that morning, I'm not sure whether Tong Hak or not, but I went there rushing to the lift, just going to the lift, saw the CEO inside the lift. So the CEO was a tall guy, about 6 feet, close to 6 feet tall. So he was standing down there. CEO got a look like he was standing down there. So that time I was very much junior in my corporate life, in the mid-90s. I went inside there, me and my friend, so I was standing the far end here, so I was standing on the left side, and he was standing in between the CEO and me, so he was next to the CEO. So of course, the door closed. 3 of us in the lift. You are with the CEO, what do? You cannot be keeping quiet, right? You got your name tag down there, he knows your stuff. So I was standing there, I was hoping for the lift door to open only, but my good friend standing in between us, next to him, and he looked up to the CEO because he's a tall guy, says, good morning, sir. Wishma. Then the CEO with his hand like that looked down at him. What's so good about the morning? You can see my friend's face change. I also do not know what to do. We were down there. Normally the lift is so easy when you just count the numbers. But this time the number seems to go very slow. The moment the door opened, ting, both of us just rushed out of the door. But that day, we started off happily. But that day, it was a terrible day for him, especially my friend, who were told what's so good about the morning. And I also don't feel good, And he was like a madman that day. Everybody come, he repeat the same story, So until the point that I said, enough is enough. But that's how things can change within a short seconds in the workplace. You were very happily talking to your colleague about something. Suddenly somebody come, the customer come with you with something, a phone call that can basically derail you, and that's real. But if we understand the Dhamma, we know that happiness, sorrows are part and parcel of the game of life. You can't have happiness all the time. And if you have sorrow, you can't be sorrow all the time unless you choose to. Same thing, gain and loss, praise and blame. Some days we get some praises. Some days we are blamed. And sometimes blamed for no reason. And always tell yourself, it's okay. This is part and parcel of life. I am going through life, learning about life while I'm working. A lot of people don't think like that. I'm learning about life while working. So if you're blamed, it's okay. Those days when I have my workstations, before I have my own rooms, I always have one important verse from the Buddha's teaching. The Buddha say, he who speaks a lot is blamed. He who speaks a little is blamed. He who keeps silent is blamed. There is none who is not blamed. So okay, so someday you get blamed, you go back there and look at the nice thing and say, okay lah, never mind. The Buddha also get blamed. Okay lah, I'm not that bad. So it helps you to be philosophical at times when you're going through these ups and downs. Why you learn the Dhamma? It's because to help you to be philosophical. We don't have all the answers in our life, but sometimes we have to borrow some of these things to help us to find some sanity and answers in our life. So learn about these 8 winds. It helps me a lot. And those of you who think that, your days is like morning sunshine, evening thunderstorm, please learn a little bit more about these 8 winds that the Buddha talked about. I don't have time to go into detail, but I recommend you, this is a good principle to live with. The winds of change is ever blowing. It's all anicca. Flow with it. Don't get hooked with it, but flow with it. And it would not. You will get rock bottom at some point in time, you'll come up again one. Don't worry about that. All right? If you can't, then a few of good Kalyana Mitra will be very important at workplace. So in your workplace, find some good people. Good people. When I say good people, do not look for people who bitch about the same boss you are having. It doesn't help. A lot of people, one of the favorite pastime in the corporate world, in the working life, is to bitch about their boss. Yeah, boss like that, terrible, he's like that. Then you got a friend down there, yeah lah, he's like that. It doesn't help. These are not good Kalyana Mitras. You should look for people who can give you a shoulder to cry on, people who can give you good advice, people who can understand your feeling at that point in time. That's what we need to have. So even in the workplace, you must find the Kalyana Mitra, your spiritual friend, your friend who understands you deep down inside. That's very important. To survive, to keep your sanity, and to be happy. Okay? So that's number 2. You all right with that? Of course, the scripture has said subject to change are all compounded things. You have to strive on heedfully, be mindful, be aware of the time at workplace. This is where, again, we practice mindfulness. When you're not happy, be mindful you're not happy. Don't spill that unhappiness to your staff, to your colleagues. That's important. You got a lot of people whom we consider not a good colleagues or good bosses because they spilled their toxic around. They just attended a senior management meeting. They are not very happy. They come back, immediately call for a meeting. Everybody got scolded. Have you seen that? That's spilling your toxic around. So if you're a good Buddhist, don't do that. Sometimes we get toxic, but it's for you to filter. So one of my bosses that I have, and I still respect him a lot, he basically told me, he got a lot of shelling at the top actually, but one day we were sitting down, this boss of mine spoke to me and says, Wat Chai, my job is not easy. Dealing with the sometimes crazy senior management, he was talking at that time, senior. But all of you are my staff, like my family. He says, I get hell from the top, but I make sure all of you get heaven working with me. That's a very special boss that I have. So he filters. He filters, all the winds of change, but he makes sure that we all get the best. Not many such bosses, but he's one of them. Third principle that I hold on to as a Buddhist when I was working in a corporate setting was, dukkha is real. Don't fight it. That's why I said, when you work, it's not about working, it's about learning about life. And the good news is people pay you a salary to learn about life. Don't you think it's good, isn't it? People pay you a salary to learn about life. So look at it from that perspective. But anyway, dukkha is real in a working life. What you want, you don't get. You want a promotion, you don't get. What you don't want, you get. You don't want to be involved in the project, boss says, no, you're part of the project, please go. And I want to transfer you somewhere else. Things or people you love, go away. You love to work with certain person, but too bad, he says he's resigning, he's moving on. Say, why you have to leave us? It happened, right? Things or people you hate come and fall flat at you. The worst thing, they sit right in front of you some more. This person you cannot work with. So the Buddha says it's dukkha. Dukkha is not just physical dukkha, not just emotional and mental dukkha. It's also dealing with people you don't like to deal with. People that you like, go away. This is dukkha. And in a working life, it's always happening. So this is real. Don't fight it, but learn to acknowledge it, learn to come to terms with it. And you're paid a salary to learn that. That's the good news. So it's very important for us to know that in a couple life, it's never satisfying one. Very rare you get a good boss. Very rare you get a team of good colleagues. Sometimes you get a mixed bags of that. Sometimes you go to certain organizations, the people there are all evil. The people there are all negative chi one, you know. The energy is so negative. You walk in there, you know, wow, this one like thunderstorm is coming on. You will sense one. I mean, these days when I work with companies, I also see that when you walk to the organization, you can feel this is a very vibrant, energized team. This is a very, everybody is so suspicious of each other. You will know one. Even they smile, at the back there's something behind. You will know one. But despite the fact, we must understand, as Buddhists, dukkha is real. And it is there for you to learn how to cope with this. Of course, you need to learn techniques how to do it. How do you deal with certain people? There are techniques. That's why when your HR or company send you for training, don't say no. Go for it because you are learning for yourself. Company is paying something for you to learn for your own self. And sometimes some people, they say, oh no, I got no time. When have you got time? Work will never finish in any organization. And when you leave any organization, the reality is you'll be history after a while. Nobody remembers you unless you're a bad guy, you know. So it's important to take good care of yourself when you go out to work. You are earning a living, but you must take care of yourself. You must grow along the way. Okay? So learn this fact. Next one. Another important principle to live with when you go to work with people in an organization. Nothing is ever yours. Let it go. This is especially true for people who work for many years in a company. They think they are given their 我给了我的青春. They give their whole youth and life 我给了我的生命 to the company. Is this how the company treat me? Hello? Nobody owes you a living, you know. The reality is, it will be silly to believe that, you know, being in the company long, you deserve everything there. Unfortunately, it is not. Because all compounded things change. Anicca, vata sankhara. That's what the Buddha says. It's wise to let go what is no more yours. Especially when there is a transition in any organization. Actually, based on record, you should be the next one to be promoted. Sway that year, new boss come. He doesn't think you are the next to be promoted. Somebody else younger, Tan, get promoted. They say, why? He's so young. I've been here 15 years. He only here 3 years. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. So it is very naive, in a way foolish also, to think that just because you are there longer, you deserve more. That doesn't happen in organization. Of course, in deep our heart, we still hope, hoping and hoping, but that hope is sometimes fat hope. So, this is especially true when company go through M&A, restructuring, change of leadership, which is so rapidly happen these days. So, in a sense, I also have learned over the years, when the management tells you things, listen to it 50%. Do not listen to it fully. Now, I'm not asking you to doubt your organization, but because that other 50% is subject to change. You won't know. Yeah? When I threw in my letter of resignation, my last job before I came out to do my own business, of course, as a practice, as a ritual, the bosses would like to see you lah. So of course, first Tan Sri Jeffrey's PA came to have lunch with me and talk to me. Hey, why you want to leave? You know, Tan Sri really think that you are, one of the important people, talent in the company. And in fact, Tan Sri was thinking that one day, if my boss, my ex-boss Larry, if Larry were to step down, you probably will take over his position. Then I told him, thank you for that confidence. You don't say bullshit, I said, thank you for the confidence. I think, I appreciate that's how he looked at me. But I think it's time for me to move on and do what I like to do. So, you have to be kind of Buddhist, your words. But it may come, it may not come. But it would be silly for me to think, wow, like that, yeah, true. And therefore, I took back my letter. Because I was clear what I wanted, But some people, when they go in the corporate world, they can be very naive. And then they accepted this, and later they found out actually it's not happening. And worst of all, there's no black and white. And then they get very frustrated, they get very deluded. And then after that, they start to say all the negative thing about the company, and they're not happy working there. Don't fall into that trap. Of course, first thing, you must be very clear what you want. If you're very clear, then you act based on what you are clear what you want. But company will always do what it takes to basically keep you, because if they keep you, means good news, you are not a bad staff. Okay? So you should give a pat on to yourself. But you must be clear what you want. But let's not be naive to say that, we've been there long, therefore things belong to us, because things change. So this is something you must be very clear of. And change is the inevitable truth that we must learn to accept. The earlier we come to accept it, the better it is. So if you got a change in leadership, this is where also some of the people in the corporate world make mistakes. There is a change in the shareholder or the leadership and things like that. And then you've been working very closely with me for a while. Suddenly I have to leave because of change of the shareholder and things like that. A new boss comes in. Brother Jim comes in as boss. Now you have to work with Brother Jim. Okay? And a lot of people make this same mistake. They do not learn to accept things because there are changes. They still hold on to things. So when Brother Jin asked her to do some work, she says, boss, last time the boss say it's like that one, last time we do this way. Of course, after a while, Brother Jin going to be very, very angry. Are you working for your previous boss, or are you working with me now? So a lot of people do not know that when there's a change, it's time to let go. It's time to flow with a different, This is something a lot of people make that mistakes. And because of that, they're not happy working there. And of course, definitely, if Brother Jin is a new boss, he would not be happy. Hey, why are you always talking about the ex-boss? Some people always talk about ex-company some more. Never do that. Once you have crossed the line, let go. You must do that. Then you are happier. Then you don't make those silly mistakes. So the Buddhist principle, letting go. When to practice? Time like this to practice letting go. Letting go is not sitting down watching your mind alone. Those are practices important as you sit down in meditation. But the real test of letting go is when situations like that happen, can you let go of your idea or not sometimes? Can you let go of your pride or not? Can you let go of your, basically very self-centered things that you want? Can you let go of all those things? Can you let go of the attachment to certain individuals? That's important practice when we go back to the workplace. Okay? Then you'll be a happier person. Next. Principle number 5, I always tell people, when you go to work in any place, earn a living. Please, please, please get a life. I've seen a lot of corporate people, even fellow Buddhists, go and work every day, cry father, cry mother about the company and the boss. Kao bei kao bu. They're not happy. They want the salary, that fat salary, yet they don't know how to manage it, and they're not. So the moment you look at him, you know he has no life. It's important for us as Buddhists to know that earning a living is only part of what we need to do. If you need to earn a living, earn a decent living, earn a good living, you know. But you must have a life. You can't be working with no life. But unfortunately, many people work in the corporate world, they have no life. That's why they are always looking forward for retirement. People like Brother Jin got retirement or not? Brother Jin? Sorry, I use you. Got retirement? No retirement. People ask me when I'm going to retire, so I cannot give an answer because I don't believe in retirement. I believe you must do something. Even if you don't want to do that work, you must channel your energy to something else. Otherwise, we age faster, die faster. You have to be very careful about this word retirement. People who retire, I've seen people who retire, and then after that, first 6 months, they enjoy their life. And after the next 6 months, they do not know what to do. And I've seen some of them gone into depression. You know? So it's very important for us to earn a living, get a life. So if you feel you have earned enough living, get a life. That's important. How you add value to yourself, how you add value to people around. That's why some of you are involved in BGF. Because you're contributing back, you know, either through your experience, knowledge, or money, or whatever you have. That's part of helping ourselves to get a life. But when you want to earn a living, you must know also how to earn a living. And the Buddha have given us advice in Digha Janu Sutta that these few principles I hold on to very dearly when I was in corporate. Even until today, these 4 important things in Digha Janu Sutta helps me to earn a living and get a life. First one, skillful, efficient, energetic in one profession. Uttana Sampada, the Buddha says, whatever that you do, be passionate about what you do. You are not just doing a job. You know, you are trying to be somebody skillful enough. And why the Buddha say the first one is very important. If you are passionate about what you do, if you are an accountant, be a, sorry for this word, be a damn good accountant. If you are a good marketeer, be a damn good marketeer. Because why? Hokkien say, lu bei yao si. Because you're so good, if one company don't want you, Chinese say, Dong jia bu da da si jia. You will always get a job somewhere. You will not be afraid you don't have a job. It is the people who do their job half-heartedly and sometimes cut corners here and there. And when hard times come, people don't want to hire them. They got no place in the workforce. So the Buddha's wisdom is very clear. You want to earn a living, be good in what you're doing. Whatever job you're in, be good in it, be passionate about that. That's Uttana Sampada. Then the Buddha says, use rightful means to earn your living and protect it. It's about wealth protection. Whatever you earn, you must protect it. First one is about wealth generation. How you want to generate your wealth, be good in what you're doing. You're doing business, be good in your business. You're doing work, be good in your work. That's how you earn a living. Second one is about wealth protection. Whatever you earn, you must know how to protect it. This one in modern term, we call it wealth protection. You must not simply waste away what you earn. We are in an era of commercialization and consumerism. People spend a lot more money than sometimes they earn. But you must protect what you earn. The problem with baby boomers like us, we protect so much that we don't spend enough. The problem with Gen Y is they spend so much they don't care. Because their father still got a lot of money there. Who spoils the Gen Ys? The baby boomers. I know of somebody in the Buddhist community, he took out close to $1 million to give to his son to open the F&B outlet. Less than a year, it was closed. 1 million burnt. To the son, mo ye ma,我老豆嘅女. Goes around very happy, say, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a businessman now, I run my own business. Only for 1 year. So the Buddha says, earn your living, protect it. So I can give a talk, full talk on this, but just remember, earn a living. Be good at what you're doing, earn a living, keep the money, have good networks. The Buddha says, you want to earn a living and get a life, make sure you network with the right people. Don't simply go and network everybody and give the card to everybody. It doesn't work that way. One. Choose your friend carefully. Choose your business associate carefully. Because in the Sigalavada Sutta, the Buddha advised who are the true friends, who are not the true friends. That's why you must learn the Dhamma so that you apply that. Oh, this one, according to the Buddha, this one only gives lip service one. This type of friend, they will tell you can, everything can. When the right time comes, everything cannot one. They're all there in the Buddha's wisdom. In the Sigalavada Sutta, the Buddha explained who is a true friend, who is not a true friend. That's how you network. Your eyes must be bright enough to know, this colleague can trust this colleague. You give 50-50 only. This colleague, you better don't trust. He promised you, you better have a backup plan. That's how you help yourself to earn a living and get a life. And of course, very interestingly, in the Digajanu Sutta, the Buddha, and I live by this a lot. The Buddha says, living within your means, sama jivikata. It's not how much you earn. It's how much you spend matters. You can earn 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 a month in your salary. You spend 60, 70, 80,000 a month. You are poorer than any other person. So the Buddha says, be careful about that. Don't live beyond your means. That's important. A lot of people earn big salary, they are not happy. Why? Because they are spending more than what they are earning. At the end of the day, the book doesn't tally. They get into credit card problems and many other issues. And they're not happy. They don't have a life. They have a lifestyle, but they don't have a life. That's two different things. A lot of people today have lifestyle, drive big cars, go to expensive restaurant, but they don't have a life. They have a lifestyle. There are two different things. So remember, earn a living, get a life. Now, for people who are working, the sixth principle I hold on to very strongly when I was in corporate is stay relevant. Learn and learn. 活到老，学到老. That's very important. If you don't do that, in due time, you will be Jurassic Park. Okay? And a lot of people, I deal with the corporate. These days, I coach a lot of senior management people. Some of them, no doubt, they hold big posts. They have good salary, but they're not happy up there. I can sense that. They also shared some of their unhappiness and things like that. And some of them, when they came in 10 years ago, they were relevant. But a lot of things change in the company and in time also. But they do not keep up to all those changes. And after a while, they used to be the number one best loved by the boss, but now they probably rank number 6 and number 7. Because newer people come in, newer skill, they can do more things. The boss also want more things, but he cannot deliver. They have to get somebody else to replace him, to put on top of him and things like that. He gets very unhappy. That's because he doesn't continuously upgrade himself. This is very important. Learn up new skill, perfect your existing capability so that you continue to build personal asset. When you go out to work as a Buddhist, the Buddha encourages us to transform ourselves to become a better person every other day. But if you are in working life, you are not changing and transforming yourself every other day, you're not living the Buddhist principle. The Buddha wants us to be a better person. Don't be a liability to the company. Be an asset. Don't be a liability in your life. Be an asset. But a lot of people don't understand that. That's why sometimes, like I said, people don't go for training, especially those trainings are very important one. Actually, they miss a point. And occasionally I run workshops and I see people, those very so-called very busy salesperson, marketeers, or whatever it is, halfway through the meeting, they walk out making phone call. Halfway through the meeting, they walk out making phone call. You might as well don't go. But then they can't because they have to sign. So they go. But these are the people who don't see the value of developing themselves. So that in 5 years' time, they are still relevant. In 10 years' time, they're still relevant. Even 20 years' time, they're still relevant. Have you seen some older people, but they're very in, they're very cool? And you've seen some old people, they're really boring and really outdated. Why are they different? Because some of them choose to learn. Some of them choose to stay where they are. So it's very important to stay relevant and learn. Because in the Mangala Sutta, the Buddha says vast learning. The Buddha did not say learning, the Buddha says vast learning. Perfect handicraft means skill. Handicraft, those days are skill. Those days people do business, they must have the skill to do handicraft. But not just doing it, but doing it perfectly. Means to a very high perfection. The Buddha says if you can have vast learning, perfect handicraft, and highly trained discipline, means you must have discipline at work. This is the highest blessing. Again, you don't have to worry, you got no food to eat one. There will be always people looking for you because you have the skill, you have the knowledge, you have the experience. They will come to you one. Don't worry, you don't have a job. Only people who stop learning, they are worried next day if there is a retrenchment, what will happen today? Because they do not upgrade themselves. You know, our experience and knowledge and things are like computer, processor. Unfortunately, many of us, our processor is 286. 386, younger generation may not know that. When we first learned the screen is green color one. You get this big floppy disk, you put in, you lock it, and then the processor is 286, 386, 486, and before Pentium and the rest came, that was it. A lot of us, our processor, today, we may be 50 years old, 60 years old, is a 286 processor. We have not upgraded ourselves. So whatever new thing comes, you know, when you don't have the whatever apps and the thing, it will come out error because it doesn't make sense. Computers say error means it doesn't make sense. So a lot of us live our life when the management introduce new thing, we never learn, we refuse to learn. It doesn't make sense to us. And that's why we kabu every day, you know, stupid management, why introduce this new thing? Because the company has to stay relevant for the business to survive. Therefore, we need new things. Therefore, we want you to follow and learn these new things. But a lot of people refuse to learn. So go back to the Buddha's advice. The highest blessings is to have vast learning, perfect handicraft, and a discipline. You will succeed. You don't have to get the monk to bless you all the time. Will I have job tomorrow? No, you don't have to do that. Because the best blessing is still this. So a lot of people fail to understand this as Buddhists. Okay? Stay relevant. Learn and learn. Then you will be happy working in a working life. People ask you things, I know about it. People talk about it, I understand it. Rather than everything, you are quite blurred in the workplace. Next. Stop complaining, start working. I mean, when you were younger, perhaps it's natural to complain a little bit more. But if you are older, you complain a lot more. Something is not right. The younger people will call the older people nagging. Some more? What? Chong hei. Ho fan. Because you complain too much. At certain age, we should not be complaining. We should have enough knowledge and experience to work on it. And even if we don't have the answers, we are experienced enough to find the answer somewhere. Therefore, you complain less. Work on it, that's it. Act on it. So in a working life, it's good principle to say, don't complain. Find the answers. Do something about it. Act on it. That's what we need to do. So, but the Buddha also advises very jokingly, the Buddha mentioned in Sigala Vada Sutta, a lot of people are lazy. Yeah? And they give excuses. The Buddha did mention that, every day is a lucky day. Yeah? To an industrious man. So people who are industrious, every day is a lucky day. To people who are not industrious, every day is a kabu day. Because they are not happy, they complain here, complain there. And in the Sigalavada Sutta, the Buddha mentioned about some people, they're lazy. They give excuses and complain all the time. Cannot do, it's too hot. In good old days, because it's a farming, agriculture environment. When the Buddha gave this example, it was an agriculture environment. So even the Buddha's time also got lazy people. Ask them to go and do farming. They say, it's too hot no, later or it's too cold maybe too early in the morning. They'll hold themselves like that. That's why the Malay got the proverb called berpeluk tubuh. That's what it means, berpeluk tubuh, the Malay proverb. It means lazy people not willing to work and they just hold themselves. So it's too cold. Ask them to go and work. It's too early wait later Ask them to work. Too late already. I need to go Or too full just eat already. Wait. Or too hungry. I cannot. That was during the Buddha's time These are some of the excuses. Of course, today the excuses a lot more Modern day, a lot more excuses So remember that nobody owes us a living. I think this is very important. I mean, at a certain point in my life, I started to realize that as a Buddhist, we are the master of our own destiny. Whether I'm happy or not happy is actually my own doing. And I take a mirror and take a good look at myself and say, what have I not done enough? What have I done not correctly? Is there something I can do differently? And that's very important. And then you realize that actually, whether you're going to be successful or failure person, whether you're going to make it or not make it, a lot depends on you yourself. Nobody owes you a living. Your father, mother doesn't owe you a living. Your bosses don't owe you a living. Company don't owe you a living. You owe yourself a living. So stop complaining. Start working on it. If you want something, go for it. If you have a dream, run after that dream. Catch that dream. Don't complain. Of course, we have seen some nice poster before. Say, I complain that I don't have shoes until I see someone without legs, right? We always complain, maybe that company is better, he got better salary, everything is better. Sometimes people do that all the time. It's not good, because once you do that, you fail to do one important thing in the Buddhist practice called counting your blessings. Your company may not be the best company. At least you have a job. There are many people out there today are without jobs. Your salary may not be that high. Maybe scale down a bit your lifestyle, you can still survive well. Stop complaining. Do your work, But when there are better times, there are better opportunities, grab it. But if there are no, then, Cantonese we say, 生性做嘢. It's okay. That's what we need to do. So count your blessing, because only when you count your blessing, then you can learn one important aspect of Buddhist practice called gratitude. Actually, my boss every day complain, but actually he's not a bad boss. This company, but I still got a job. You learn about gratitude. Of course, that doesn't mean you do not look for opportunities. When there are opportunities, go for it. Until then, learn to count your blessings and gratitude and do your work. Anyway, when people offer you a job, you agree to take that much salary, whatever the amount is. The contract is, I also agree to do a good job for you. That's a contract there. So if you don't do a good job, you're taking fat salary, for example, and you're not giving your best, that is breaking the precepts. Taking what is not yours. He gives you 20,000 salary, expect a 20,000 kind of a work, you give him a 10,000 worth of work. The other 10,000, you are just cutting corner for the company. I look at it from that perspective. So whatever you take for it, you give back to that. And some people give more. That's where they are always remembered. All right? Next. In a working life, these days are very busy. In morning, you make up your plan, what you want to do. Suddenly, you're always derailed, hijacked by many things. One phone call come, all your plans go. It's just as you were about to sit, your boss say, come on, let's do a short meeting. And that short meeting said by your boss actually lasts for 3 hours. All right? You can get into that situation. So it's very important to stay focused with your work and people. Now, a lot of people I see in the corporate world, they are not happy because why? They do too many things. Now, granted, sometimes bosses want you to do a lot of things you have to do. But a lot of time, you also have to do with yourself. Some people's problem become their problem. People's baby also become their baby. And sometimes they kepo some more, offer help, which they have not finished their own work. And then suddenly they realize, oh yeah, so much thing I cannot do. Like, you know. A lot of people, I see them very unhappy. And then you analyze deep inside. Actually, the problem is because sometimes they don't know how to say no. They are brought to the company to do certain work. You need to stay focused. What is your key things? In those days when I was corporate, I always get a lot of email requesting this, sometimes phone call requesting this. And sometimes I know if I say yes, it means I have to spend another 2 weeks working on it. And I know it's not within my scope. You know, so I have to be very clear, stay focused. If I'm not sure, I speak to my boss. I says, I just got a phone call from ABC department. They wanted us to help them in this. So what's your thought, boss, about this? And we have a discussion. And if I have a very strong feeling it should not be ours, I'll tell him, I don't think we should do this, but I just need your support on this. And sometimes the boss will say, okay, go ahead. Then I got his backing. Then I know what to say no to the other party. But a lot of people, they don't know. So they get into a situation, their own work are not done. Half the time they're doing people's work. So it's important to stay focused in what you are brought to that company for. As much as you can, stay focused. You will always get distracted, but stay focused. And on this, I always take lesson from the Buddha. On the on the Sinsapa leaves. You know, the Buddha one day was walking in the forest. And Buddha always do very ad hoc thing. So he was walking. Suddenly he stopped. And you know, all his retinue of monks also stopped. And then he looked at, you know, those forests got a lot of leaves on the floor. You know, now autumn you go to those countries, you see a lot of those orange leaves on the floor. So he was passing through this forest with this Sinsapa's tree and the leaves. So he took that leaf on his hand, and then he looked to his retinue of monks and says, Bhikkhus, he says, my knowledge is like the leaves in the forest. But you just need this handful of leaf to be enlightened, to free yourself from suffering. Now, the Buddha taught us a very important lesson about staying focused. I mean, you can do everything just like the leaves in the forest. It's not going to get you where. But all you need is to do what you need to do. So when we go to work, we must be very clear. What is our focus? Which area should be our focus? Who are the key stakeholders should be our focus? There are so many people in the company. You don't have to say yes to everybody one. The few important ones, you must manage them better. Stay focused. If you can stay focused on your work and people, you'll be a happier person. I see a lot of people very unhappy, you know. Every day they complain, oh yeah, that department give me this, that one also want the people, I don't know what to do now. They're very unhappy working because they are not focused. So it's important for us to stay focused at work. Okay? Number 9, when you go out to work, one of the important Buddhist principles I always live with, and I think they are quite universal, is about building bridges and not walls. Very important. I mean, Stephen Covey talk about win-win. And I think that same principles, as a Buddhist, we should always keep close to our heart. Relationship, especially we understand the law of karma. We know that we are all interconnected in life, in this universe. Today, I meet you. 10 years later, I may meet you again somewhere else, doing things together. Sometimes doing things not together in a different way. Life, our path is always crossing. So you have to be very careful about that. So in this sense, as a Buddhist, I've learned to build bridges instead of wall. And everything happened for a good reason of a good relationship. Now, we also have to understand that cleverness does not guarantee success. In other words, when you go to work in a workplace, it's not how clever you are, but how good are you to build bridges with the people you have in a company. And sometimes you can do that. People call it EQ. Sometimes when can you do that, all it takes is just a phone call away, things get moving. And you got some very smart elect try to show how smart they are, and they always have a lot of roadblocks around them. Why? Because they always talk good about themselves, like the Mr. President, I will make this country great again. Everything is about about me. But in the real working life, in the corporate world, it's not about you alone. It's about how many bridges can you bridge. And these are the people that are going to give you the strength. Okay? So it's important to do this. Ask, why must they choose me? Why must they agree with me? Why must they cooperate with me? You must ask this question. It's not about you alone. When people choose you, it's because they have confidence in you. Therefore, you need to learn how to work with that person. When somebody offers you a job, it's because they trust you. Therefore, it's for you to build back that bridges to that person who offers you that. So we are all interconnected. So always remember, from a Buddhist perspective, think long-term, think win-win about relationship. Because, and even if you're not happy with the company, when you live in good faith. Because you never know when the path will cross again. Very important. My simple example I gave about myself is 2006 I resigned. That's 11 years ago. And when I resigned, like I said, I threw in the letter, all those ritual comes. And one of the rituals that I have to go through is to see the big boss himself. So I went to see Tan Sri Jeffrey at that time when I was inside. And make appointment with his lovely secretary, then was called to the penthouse area there and sat down for a while, at the topmost floor, big space but very cold. Always corporate office is like that, CEO office is always up there, very cold one, because Chinese say 人气不够. Big space but only 1 or 2 person, so not enough human energy. So anyway, went there, waited. Then the secretary says, Tan Sri is ready to see you. So I walk into this room. He was sitting in a table there. Big table, but then the room is so big, it looks small. Big table, he was sitting down there and he was scribbling something. His head was looking down. And I walk into his table, dare not sit because he's a big boss, So I was waiting for him for a while, for I think easily 40 seconds that he was doing things. 40 seconds seems like a long time. Anyway, then he looked up to me and says, "Oh, Chai, sit down." Then sit down, I heard you are leaving. I say, "Yes, Tan Sri, I'm leaving." Why you cannot work with your boss? Next question, why you cannot work with your boss? No. I work perfectly well with Larry. In fact, because we work well, we have so many things, initiative introduced. I'm sure Tan Sri, I say, yeah, okay. Then why you want to leave? They all ask very short, sharp question. Then why you want to leave? I say, Tan Sri, I didn't get to do what you did when you were 20, 30 years old. Now I'm almost crossing to the twilight zone of my life, you know. So I must do something that I wanted to do myself. So I didn't say twilight zone. I say, I said, now I'm this stage, I think I want to do something for myself, you know. Then he says, but you have 4 kids, you know. He reminded me I have 4 kids. I said, because he knows I got 4 kids. I said, 4 kids. Then I said, Tan Sri, thank you for your concern. Because he was trying to fish every opportunities. I said, Tan Sri, no, I understand. I thank you for your concern. I understand the risk I'm taking and things like that. Thank you for your concern. Then I did one thing. I told him, I told Tan Sri, Tan Sri, I need your blessing to go. Not that I wanted to marry his daughter, but I said, I need your blessings to go. No, I don't have to do that. I just throw my letter, I go lah. No. But as a Buddhist, I think otherwise, because I wanted to build bridges. I think about long-term 人缘, because we believe in karma, we believe in 缘分, we believe in, you know, all these things. So I says, I need your blessings to go. And of course, he put his head down for a while. Yeah, I think he was thinking something. Then he lifted up his head and says, Wachai, you got my blessings to go. Wow, when he said that, I felt very relieved. Like, you know, all these 10,000 tons of thing is off my shoulder. As I walk out of the room, I felt relief. Because why? I don't want, when I go out, after I left the company, every day he's cursing me. That useless Wachai, we brought him into the company, we have a lot of high hopes and plans for him, he's useless. I don't want that to happen. Because I understood, as far as being a Buddhist is concerned, all these are 人缘. 每样东西都因和果. Okay, what you do to people, it'll come back to you at some point in time. And I want this ending to be a good ending. And who knows, our journey, our path will cross again. In fact, we crossed many times. After I left, I still met up with him a few times and things like that. But it's important to do that. But a lot of people don't understand. You know, they left with a very bad taste, and then they do all kinds of things. They sabotage the company, they took away the information, they go in, you know. As a Buddhist, we don't do that. Yeah? Always remember, build bridges, not walls. And that's how you can survive better. Yeah? Either in a working life or in anything that you do. So this is where, you know, to build bridges, I think the 4 Brahma Viharas, again, I'm not going to go into detail. I used a lot of these 4 Brahma Viharas when I was working in a corporate. Try to treat everybody as well as possible with our loving kindness. If there are people with genuine problems that they need your help, go to them, reach out to them. That's called compassion. To your fellow colleagues, even to your own staff, sometimes they're really lost, you need to help them, you help them. That's called compassion, that's called karuna. And mudita is, in the corporate world, you always see people sometimes doing better, achieving better, they are promoted faster, don't be jealous. It's their time, maybe your time will come later, doesn't matter. Have that mudita. And when things don't really work out in a relationship, you must know how to keep your balance. And that's where upekha comes in. So I use that a lot during my corporate life to make sure that I don't go into insanity. Working life can be sometimes like a mad world. So you have to help yourself. Okay, the last one. You are owner of your own karma. Never let the success of your bad colleagues or your personal career setback blind you from the importance of the law of karma. Sometimes you always come to BGF, you do a lot of good things, you do dana, you do katina, you do all the whatever you can do. Then in the workplace, you still feel your life is not smooth. Don't be disheartened. Don't be disheartened. I know a lot of people, they do a lot of good things and things are not smooth in the workplace. They think, after a while they say, I don't believe in all these things. You know, do good for what? Look, my life is terrible. I just lost my job. I just had this. So a lot of people sometimes don't understand the law of karma. A little setback sometimes makes them rethinking about their good values that they have, the things that they have. So it's important to know that, you know, whatever you do, you are the owner of your own karma. Time will come. maybe it's not the right time yet. So you have to be very careful about that. Everyone will have his own karma to face. So even if you got a very bad boss who torture you, who basically make fun of you, there are such people in the corporate life. We call them the corporate terrorists. They terrorize you every other day. So even you have things like that, we remember that it's not for you to take against them. Karma will come after them. It's a matter of time. Okay? I have a friend who works in a company that produces, they supply T-shirts, all this to the big branded companies. And they'll use that T-shirt, put on different collars, different colors, different whatever pattern, they'll sell it to the market lah. So they supply. And this particular friend that I know of always complain to me, "Ayo, my job very difficult. I always go and see the purchasing guy in that company, and they make me look like a beggar. I sit there for hours waiting to see her. And when I see her, she scold me all the time and give all kinds of things. Sometimes like that lah. Just like some salespeople go and see some doctors to sell some products, so they also have to wait a long time. I know some of them. So not all doctors are like, but some of these are. So she was made to sit down there sometimes hours just to see her, to show the design, to propose this and that. And she said, I really look like a beggar, And sometimes she will just out of nowhere, she just walk out of the meeting and never show up until another 1 hour later, as she's kept in the room. But she says, what can I do? I'm earning a living. 冇辦法咯. So she was, and I said, treat her well. And whatever she wants, you think you can entertain, you can do, is within your scope, within the thing, just do for her. You are earning a living, yes, but be happy about this. Because whatever she does to you, time will come. And true enough, last year the company was taken over by a Thai company, big organization. They took over that company. That lady has to leave. For whatever reason, I'm not happy with that lady leaving. I'm saying the fact is she left, and she doesn't have to deal with that horrible person that she has to deal with. But sometimes it's not for us to penalize people who are not kind to us. The karma will take its own course. But you just have to be a little bit more patient. Yeah? So do not hate or take revenge when you're going tough time with people in any company or in business. A time will come, and the karma will take its own course. But you make sure your own karma is good. You make sure you do all the right things, say the right thing, and do the right things. All right? So these are 10 simple principles that I live with as a Buddhist, taking a lot of understanding on Dhamma and put it in a simple thing that it works for me, and I hope it will work for you. Maybe not all the 10 will work for you, but take one and two that you think, hey, maybe there's a good principle I should live with. And then you try to practice that in your workplace. It makes you a better person. If those days, out of a month, you get 30 days unhappy, maybe now you get lesser. You get maybe 20 days of unhappiness. It's an improvement. So that's what you need to help yourself. So those are my sharing. Of course, a little bit of advertisement. We just about to complete this mini workshop series called Dhamma Works mini series. This is done in Kinrara Metta. The reason why we came out with this program, there are 8 modules there, is to help working people. We realize that a lot of Buddhist centers sometimes plan a lot of activities not meant for working people. Sometimes they are planned for people like us, semi-retire or retire, want to do more meditation, want to listen to more Dhamma talk. But these working people says, I'm very challenged with my problems at work. And there is no Buddhist center that take care of working people. So we say, okay, let's have a program, 8-module program that teach them some important things that they will bring back and survive better in the working life. So this is a program that we about to finish. Myself, Dato, Charlie, Brother Singbi, Sister Mi, and I'm sure some of them you know. So we put together some of the important programs, like for example, how to generate wealth according to the Buddha, how to protect your wealth according to the Buddha, how to network according to the Buddha, how to manage office politics based on the Buddha's teaching, how to manage stress better in the workplace. They are all covered here, and how to manage change in the organization. We're all covered here, but using the Dhamma as a basis for discussion. So this is meant for, so if you feel you're still working, you need to learn a little bit more and about Dhamma that can help you in the workplace. The next rerun will be next year, first quarter. So look out for it. All your friends, you think that he needs a little bit of help, perhaps you can recommend them for the programs. All right. So I ended with my appreciation for inviting me here, especially Brother Bobby, for taking all the trouble. He was very persistent in chasing after me, WhatsApp after WhatsApp, and sometimes I was busy and I don't respond. He came some more WhatsApp to a point that I must respond. But I like his persistency, so thank you for inviting me to BGF. And if there is any question, I can take one or two. Yes.
Thank you, Brother Charlie. Brother Hot Chai. Okay. Sorry. Saw the poster.
No worries. We all make mistakes.
So any questions? I pass you the mic. This talk is being live streamed on YouTube now.
It goes viral in the traffic. Otherwise, the department will come after me.
Is Dhamma relevant for Muslims or not?
Okay, of course it is relevant, but we will, for sensitivity reason, I don't think we should open to them. Not at this point in time. I think there's a resurgence of Muslim activities in the country. Everything is sensitive these days, so we have to be extra careful in the Buddhist community. We may be doing good things, we may be trying to help people, but then and these days with social media and all those gadgets that we have, it's so risky who is taking, who is not taking. Even when I was giving Dhamma talk, we don't know who is taking, who is not taking pictures, no, whatever it is. So it can happen when you invite Muslims over. We don't know what will happen. So I'm a little bit more cautious about it. But if you ask me whether the content is relevant, it is relevant. But I don't think we should open to the Muslims to protect ourselves. This is a very sensitive time for the country. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, brother.
Okay, my question here is that a lot of points actually is very relevant most of the time because we are dealing with human beings, right? Yeah. So my question here is that how would it be even better used if we in the volunteer organization, is to try to use some of those kind of things? Can you please give some advice?
As you have mentioned, all this have to do with human being. A lot of time is about human being when we're dealing with people. So the only difference between working life and volunteerism is, the word volunteerism means people say, I got time, I got extra, I give. I'm not obliged, I don't sign any agreement with you. In the working life, you do sign an agreement. The letter offer is agreement between you and the company. When you sign, you want to take up the post, you pay you that salary. Here in volunteerism, you're not given any incentive nor whatever it is. You give your best. So it makes it more tricky and complex because the person that you work with in a volunteer environment, they are not your boss. Neither do they report to you. If ever they only report to you for the sake of the project only. So it becomes a little bit more tricky. So even more, some of these principles need to be practiced at a more high intense level. We have to be more careful. So when you say things, so sometimes people, that's why when people give their best in the workplace like that, all it takes is one person who are not sensitive enough say something which is a bit sensitive, and you see that person never come to BGF anymore. Because they have a choice. In the company, they have no choice. They are not happy with whatever you have commented. For example, they do volunteer work. They put all this pillow and whatever, and then you give a call. Hey, not very straight. Your eyes are not straight enough. I mean, simple thing like that. And then that person get very hurt. Number one, you are not his boss. Number two, who are you to tell me if it's straight or not straight? I give my best already. So sometimes When we work in organization like this, Buddhist organization, charitable organization, all these principles need to be even heightened in terms of the sensitivity, because they don't belong to you, they are not reporting to you. So we have to be very careful, and this is where a lot more mindfulness is needed in an organization like this. Of course, the workplace you have to be mindful, but here even more mindfulness, because people just walk away without coming back. And to us, as a Buddhist community, it's a loss. It's a loss of a lot of resources and potentials. Then the organization would not grow. So working in organization, that we have to be more mindful in our thoughts, speech, and action. It's a good time to practice that. Before you say anything, want to comment anything, think about what people have done and whether those words are helping or not helping. If not helping, hold back. It's okay to hold back. It won't harm you. Just hold back. That's it. Rather than sometimes simply pass comment, not straight lah, this and that. It doesn't help because you're not adding value. Those words don't add value. So if you think not straight enough, go and straighten yourself. That's adding value. Better still, volunteer to be the next person laying all the pillows. That's adding value. So I think we should be doing that more mindful, because we don't own all these people here. They come on their own willingness and happiness. Chinese, I always say this, when you come to Buddhist center, 你要带你的欢喜心来。你回去的时候，带着欢喜心回去。You come with a happy heart, with a willing heart, and you live with a happy and willing heart. Not come with something and then you go back very unhappy, or come very unhappy and make everybody else unhappy. This is a place for us to practice. So I think those principles are a lot more mindfulness towards others, because they don't belong to you. All right. I don't know whether I answered that question.
Very enlightening. Thank you.
Brother Tan, few years back, I went for an Abhidhamma class.
Okay.
I didn't know that there are certain professions listed in the Abhidhamma. It says that if you are in those professions, it will hinder your spiritual progress.
Such as?
Being a lawyer, being an actor, people in the arts, even an author.
Even musician.
Yes.
I know.
So,
go ahead.
How do you reconcile once you know that you're in a profession that is? Because my argument to the
Instructor.
person who gave that talk, I say, but that's our bread and butter. So how? And then plus we went into when we go into that profession, it's in that profession it's with a good intention. Like being a lawyer, you want to help. But his response was, if you want to walk the path of, if you want to really understand the Dhamma, you have to find a different, you have to stay away from this profession. So how I'm
Okay. Thank you for the question. Very relevant question. I hope I'm not offending any Abhidhamma practitioner down here. You see, when the Buddha preached to different level of people. Different level of people, the Buddha talked different things. Sometimes sounded like contradicting. It is not, because the Buddha spoke to a different level of cultivation, understanding of the individuals. At some point in time, the Buddha talks about being with people is very important. Having Kalyana Mitras is important for your development. Another time in the Rhinoceros Sutta, the Buddha says, be like a rhinoceros, wander alone. And then he says, does it contradict? It doesn't. Because the Buddha was speaking different thing to different people based on the different level of understanding and practice. Now, when the Buddha spoke to the monks, especially those sutta given to the monks, the practitioners, the serious practitioners, the Abhidhammas and the rest. You notice the sutta talks about letting go, non-attachment a lot more. But then again, when the Buddha was speaking to lay people like Digajanu, Sigalawada, he talks about it's okay to accumulate wealth. In fact, you should do that. The Buddha also say, in Sigalawada Sutta, as husband, you must buy gift for the wife. You cannot go to the wife, the Buddha say, let go of things, no need to buy anything. You can't. But it sounded very contradicting, right? It is not, because the Buddha understood the level of understanding and practice differ from individuals. So when we talk about this, we have to be very careful, especially we are lay people learning Abhidhamma. It's just my comment. I may be wrong. You have to be very careful, because you have to understand yourself first, who you are. Are you a serious practitioner? You're no more interested in a worldly life. That's different. But if you want to learn Abhidhamma more for the understanding of the mind and other things, that's okay. But you also must understand, you got a lay life to live. You must be clear. 你一脚不能够踏两什么? You cannot step on two boats at the same time. You will fall in between. So you need to make a choice. Where do you want to be? And on the other hand, there is no such thing as perfect job. There's no such thing as perfect job. Every job will have its bad apple. You got good doctors, you got lousy doctors. You got good lawyers, you got lousy lawyers. You got this, you got that. Of course, the Buddha did mention certain jobs in the Eightfold Path that we should try to avoid, because it breaks the basic 5 precepts. All right? So, now, this question is posed to the late chief by somebody that says, can a butcher be a good Buddhist? What's your answer to that? You think what the late chief would answer? He said, yes. But he got no choice, or his family all are butchers, or that's the only thing he knows how to do and earn a living. The late chief, yes. Yes, he may be breaking 1 precept, killing, which is quite serious. But he has not much an option, because for now, unless he has an option, if he has an option, then he take that option. But if he doesn't have option, he is mindfully aware that that's not a good thing to do. But late chief also say, he has 4 more precepts to keep. The 2nd precept, the 3rd, 4th, 5th precept, he can still keep. It doesn't make him a bad Buddhist. Anyway, you keep 5 precepts doesn't mean you're better than person who keep 4 precepts. It just means our development areas and levels are different. Some people take longer time in this samsara journey. Some people can make that choice and make that choice very firmly. They are faster. So they are on a fast track. Like you go to Disneyland, you buy the pass, you go through. The rest of them have to queue like mad, waiting for the term. It's just... So my opinion is this, there is no perfect job. So when you go and study things like that, you have to be very careful. There are also times I write Buddhist music, and I heard from fellow meditators say listening, singing music is defilement. Now, does that stop me from writing music? No, look, I'm a layman. Listening to music will not make you kill people. Listening music will not make you steal anything. In fact, sometimes listening and creating music, I make a lot more people happy. Through the music, this one, Mahayana Buddhism talks about skillful means. It's a skillful means to reach out to people. I see the benefit of it. I don't look at the negative part of it. So it depends whether you see the cup half full or half empty. That's how you look at it. But to me, I think if you are a lay person, you have to earn a living, you have to support your family. The Buddha clearly told us, be a good lay person. Yeah? So I think it was King Ajasattu who asked the Buddha, the group of this Digajanu, they asked, we are lay people. We like donning ourselves with nice clothing, using perfume or whatever, garlands and all these things. We like to have wives. Those days they can have more than one wife. So in India, nothing special. So we have wives, so teach us, Tathagata, how to be a good, happy person in life. The Buddha gave the Digajanu Sutta. So, was the Buddha wrong? No. The Buddha understood we all have different level of cultivation. So we should not impose our standard of cultivation on people. We should allow people to develop, but we can encourage them, but we should not impose on that. So in any Buddhist practice, if you impose your thing on people, I think that's not a natural progression of your cultivation and development. So that's just my view. I think don't be too troubled about that. Anyway, unless people who are serious in this very life, they want to be enlightened, then you better cut off all these things. But if that is not your immediate intention you have, but you want to be a happier person, less suffering person, there are many things you can do to help yourself to achieve that. So again, depends which path you take. So that's just my opinion. You can disagree with me. It's okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Brother Tan Huat Chai. You want to take a sip?
Oh, okay. Thank
Do
you
we
for
have
the
a
kindness.
chance to have to
Okay, do we
listen
still
to
have
your
time
song?
for a question or?
We have time for song. 古老的轮回 The 古老的轮回
I hope I still remember the lyrics lah. But I don't have a guitar,
Daniel have the guitar?
Never mind lah. Next time lah. Next time you invite me, say, please bring your guitar along. Then I'll bring my guitar along. Appreciate your request. I will remember that the next round. But Bobby, please remind me of the guitar next round.
But how I wish I attended this talk 30 years ago.
It's still not too late. It's still not too late. Nothing is late.
Brother Huat Chai,
Yeah.
maybe you can say something about volunteerism in Buddhism.
Okay. Why was this so important to be?
Because I feel a lot of Buddhist societies have problems getting volunteers, and especially future Buddhist leaders. A lot of Buddhist societies are now moving on with a lot of old leaders. So it's very important to encourage people to attend the GLAD program and say something about GLAD.
Oh, which one you want me to talk about?
Encouraging people to be Buddhist volunteers.
Okay, okay. This is just again my opinion, so you can disagree with me. I see volunteers and Dhamma workers are two different categories altogether. My definition of volunteers: we have Wesak celebration. We need more helpers. We need volunteers. So we don't have enough people. Our members are this much only, but we need another 100 people. So can we get volunteers to come in? So we ask our friend, our relatives, whoever that we know, can you come and help? We need you one day or time, maybe take care of this. This I consider as volunteers. They may come one time, they disappear. Okay? But for people who are involved directly with BGF, you come almost day in, day out, week in, week out. From my definition is, you should not be volunteers. You should be, you should be committed to this organization, committed to the Buddha Dhamma. So when you come in, you give your time, your energy. You are actually basically serving the Buddha. So if you can think along that line, I'm not a volunteer, but I'm serving the Buddha. I'm committed to the Buddha Dhamma. I'm giving my time, my energy, my effort, my resources, my money through BGF to serve the Buddha. You can also serve the Buddha through other organizations. You can serve the Buddha in many ways, but that's what you do. And I consider those are Dhamma workers. So for me, I don't consider myself a volunteer. In fact, I'm a Dhamma worker. And I've been serving the Buddha Dhamma for the good many years because I have benefited from the Buddha Dhamma. Therefore, it is only right that I give back. I also mentioned during the GLAD program, sometimes, this again my opinion, you can disagree with me. I feel that sometimes while we Buddhists talk a lot about goodness and things like that, but actually sometimes we can be very selfish. Many of us have gone to Buddhist centers for many years, 10 years, 20, 30, 40 years. We take a lot from the Buddhist centers. Many of us come for Dhamma talk like that, finish already, Chinese we say, pai pai pi gu ju zhou la. We don't even help to take this, put it back. We don't help to see anything I can help to clear the place. We don't do that because we think somebody else should do, not us. And then you look at it, isn't it selfish? This thing doesn't appear like that. Somebody must have put it there to make it convenient for you to sit. Can we also do a little bit of effort to make it convenient for others also at the same time? That's why 星云法师 always emphasize a lot. 我们做什么东西，做人要方便别人。You must do things to make things convenient for people. You know, how do you make things convenient for people? It's by offering your services, your help, your time, your energy. Make things easy for people. This thing doesn't happen by chance. People like him invited me. Somebody would have set up that thing. Somebody would have put this. Somebody would have got this place ready in the morning and things like that. Somebody would have opened the door, otherwise you can't come in. They're all people. You may call them volunteer, but I think if you're committed to the Buddha Dhamma, these are little contribution we gave back. So don't just take from society. We must give back to the society. So try not to be a selfish Buddhist. I know many of us go for different temple, different center, listen to talk, but we do nothing to contribute back at all. And when you think about it, is it selfish? I think it is selfish. We should do something for every organization that we drop by. 你不能出力出钱，你不能出钱，用你的心，do whatever you can. You know, so that's what we need to do. Then the Buddhist community can grow. So in that sense, I think it goes beyond volunteerism. Of course, you can always argue about the term, but I think what you mean is to get more people to be involved, to contribute your time and energy, and all of us can do something. If you're strong, you help to carry. If you're good, help to organize. If you can talk, be an MC, like those little girls lead the puja. I hope they don't get offended, I say little girl. So, everybody can do something. Rather than come here, I want to listen Dhamma talk, finish already, okay, thank you very much, I walk out. You do nothing. And then you, again, I'm sorry, Buddhists, sometimes we take so many books, we never read. And we don't even give donation for reprinting and things like that. So when you look at that, maybe that's the reason our community cannot grow. Our community can only grow if all of us chip in our time, our energy, our effort, our expertise, and our wealth, whatever it is, and give back to the organization. That's how the community can grow. So, in that sense, everybody is a volunteer. In a sense, everybody should be a Dhamma workers at the same time. Then this center will grow, every other Buddhist center will grow, and the community will grow. So, can we take away that a little bit more selfish mindset? I want to go and listen to Dhamma talk. Who is that? Oh, a Jambram coming, okay. And then after that, pai pai pi gu yu zhou la. We don't help much. And many of them have been coming to many Buddhist centers, take away for the last 30, 40 years a lot of things, but they never give back. Some of us, I'm not saying all of you, but so it's time for us to do something for the community. So volunteerism, or whatever you call that, are very important. Then this center called BGF can grow. Every other Buddhist center can grow. Then we know in Buddhism, in Malaysia, growing. Otherwise, very difficult. One group of people keep doing a lot of things. After a while, they get tired. They get burnt out. Not in corporate world, you get burnt out. Also in Buddhist center, you get burnt out. That's why some people, after a while, they leave. They never come back because they say, you know, they call themselves Buddhists, are very selfish one. I want help, I don't get help. They get burnt out. They get frustrated. So let's also help them not to be frustrated. So this is a little we can do. So if that much I can say lah. So please help this center. Do what you think you can offer. Better still, you come forward and says, I am good in this. Is there something I can help? Then I say, good. That's how we can grow better. All right?
So